What's up, my friends? You're back here for another segment of Brockway's Vinyl Bites, baby. Woohoo! And we have a very special guest here today, Mrs. Tara O'Reilly from SPINNIN PROG.
Hello, thank you for having me back again. I'm very excited.
Well, anyone who knows you is lucky to have you. Trust me, trust me, trust me. You are super cool, and I'm so happy to have you back on Brockway's Vinyl Bites. It is discussion time. What are we discussing, Tara? What's the plot of today's video?
We are going to talk about our own journey with music from our pre-teens into teenage years, because a lot of the people that watch both of us would be a lot older than us. So they'd have a completely different story. And I think it'd be a bit of an interesting one for us to delve into what it was like for us. I mean, now look, it was only 10 years ago. I know it's not that long, all right?
Well,
but we're going to just delve into it anyway, and it'll be a bit of crack, all right?
Well, I know that between the both of us, our love of music started very, very young because of our parents.
Yes.
And so I know that you, obviously on SPINNIN PROG, you have the channel and you do all of your videos with your dad. We love your dad. I don't know if you watching this haven't watched anything from SPINNIN PROG. I don't know how you've survived, because her dad, even if you disagree, and there's lots that I disagree on, okay, in certain topics, but he is so funny, and these two are so entertaining. The whole dialogue between the two of them, whether you agree wholeheartedly or kind of like, maybe I don't feel the same way, it doesn't matter, because the content is so good and the delivery is awesome on SPINNIN PROG.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
yeah, I love what you guys do. I've been your fan since I first heard about you, like a month after you started the channel, and I've been here on the train ever since. So
yes.
Well done.
Thanks.
Well
no,
done.
yeah, it's been good crack. It's a fun journey, like, and it's funny the people you'd meet along the way, like viewers and stuff, who become friends, and you start to recognize their names in your comments, and it's a lovely thing.
Yeah, I know. Then obviously there's more to that, but hey, we'll disclose all that another time. Well, yeah. But to get into today's topic, so I guess I'll start us off. I got into music largely because of my dad. Both mom and dad love music. My mom can sing, but my dad was a bona fide professional musician throughout the 70s and 80s. Here in Canada, he was in bands like Rabbit. He was in a band with Lawrence Gowan before he went solo and did the Styx thing and all that. He was in Lee Aaron's band. He was her bass player. And so if you're going to know any project that he's done and you live in Canada, it's probably going to be Lee Aaron. She's the Canadian metal queen of the 80s, right? But he went out and played hard rock and metal in all these bands. But as much as he loves the Black Sabbath and all that, he's a prog fan to the death. He is like right into, he's not super into like the Canterbury stuff, but like, yes, it's his favorite band of all time. He's seen them like 20 times. Genesis, he saw them like 13 times. The last one was with me. And and who else? King Crimson. And then he's like, my dad is 72 years old and he's still finding like new prog metal bands. He'll be like texting me and like, you have to hear this, listen to this brand new band. This is like their second album. And he's right on it.
Yeah.
So that has passed over into the next generation, which is me, us, whatever. And so yeah, I've been playing drums since I was 2. Very encouraged by my parents to pursue that. Both parents knew that I was going to be a musician. I mean, literally 18 months old, and we were in Long and McQuaid, and Dad's there to buy some bass strings. I wandered off to a drum kit. They had their back, so they didn't see. Like, they had their back turned, so they didn't see. And someone does a drum fill on the drums or something like that. This is just the story I've been told. And Mom and Dad turned around and were sort of horrified to find out that it was me who did it. And the guy working said, "How long's he been playing?" They said about 20 seconds. And so that's where it all started for me. What about you, Tara?
Obviously, my dad, he was also a bass player back in the 80s. He's a bit younger than your dad. He's 57 now. Sorry, Dad, for telling everyone how old you are.
Oh, my dad is 70.
Yeah, he's going to kill me for that.
He's got like 15 years under my dad.
Yeah, no, Dad, he always was listening to music every day, all the time when he wasn't in work. So it was just always playing in the house. Either he was playing it on his guitar or his bass, or he was playing records or CDs. And it just became a part of life.
Yeah.
So I just, I've been listening to bands like Yes and Genesis and Gong and everything since I can remember, since I was very young. But I am the middle child in between two boys.
Right.
And my older brother got into metal and grunge and stuff when he was about 12. And this kind of had a snowball effect down on me. Because I always just was so into music. I don't know why. I don't know if it was like a genetic thing from my father. I have no idea. But I just loved discovering music. And yeah, my older brother, he got into bands like Slipknot, Metallica, Megadeth, System of a Down, all that good stuff.
Megadeth, never heard of them.
And I started to listen to them too, and there was a channel on the television here. I'd say all the people from Ireland and the UK will remember it. It was called Scuzz. Yeah, and it was brilliant. It would be on like 24/7, and they'd be playing like absolute bangers: Tool, Disturbed, Slipknot, Godsmack, Alice in Chains, all the time. And like my older brother would be sitting there watching it all the time, and I'd be sitting beside him, like, this little young one. There's 2.5 years between us, and me and him were very close when we were kids. So I used to be watching it with him all the time, and I really, really got into it while I was into prog at the same time, which is probably a bit of a, whoa, what do you mean? Like, how are you into the two of them? But it just happened. It just happened.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, my teenage years, you know yourself, when you go through puberty, you're as depressed, like.
My time then was a weird time for a different reason. I don't know if I would say it was depression, but it was pretty bad for just other stuff that was happening at the time. Without going too much into detail, but that is when I really fell into prog rock more than ever. Was at that time I was discovering Rush and Genesis and stuff. At that time, and so that was when I'd go to work and I'd come home, and instead of go out and do whatever my friends were doing, debauchery, this and that, I was coming home, getting behind the kit and learning Watcher of the Skies and Can Utility and the Coastliners and stuff. And so that's how I spent the majority of my later teenage years, was learning Rush and Genesis music. Really
great.
Now I've spent my 20s learning Tool and Dream Theater, so
nice.
Well, just in case I ever need it at a gig one day.
Yeah, I would have been one of those people out getting wasted and trying to forget the world, because Ireland isn't a very cheery place to grow up in. It's rough.
Yeah, it's different there.
It is. There's still a lot of fallout from the Catholic Church running everything. Like, my secondary school was attached to a nun's convent.
Oh,
and you'd be made go up and ask the nuns to pray for you when you were doing exams and stuff like this.
You're like, don't give me none of that.
Yeah, geez, the nuns would love seeing me coming, it wasn't fun, I'm sure the nuns would be all langers out of their head up in the convent, but you're made, you're to look up to these nuns now, and they drunk out of it in the corner. But anyway, there's nothing else to do here. They don't give bands the opportunity to play here unless they're traditional Irish music or country music. Literally, there's a pub on every single street, so you're encouraged to go drinking here.
Oh, wow.
So it's different. It's very different here. So I would have been out drinking from, I'd say I was about 14 when I started.
Yeah, we got something here called the legal age.
Yeah, so do we, but it doesn't really count here.
I've only ever tasted alcohol. This is probably weird. I've only ever tasted alcohol by accident, and it was horrendous.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, people don't drink it for the taste, Cody.
You keep the what?
Yeah, so we would have been doing that a lot, and I used to go home and I would kind of find refuge in music.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like going out and getting wasted and all that stuff. I didn't enjoy it. But you just do it to kind of fit in, especially when you're a teenager, like, you know. And being a girl as well, like, you know, girls are brutal. And you do anything to fit in and kind of stay out of the radar, like, you know. So I'd find it as a refuge, and I got into all the grunge and the metal and stuff when I was about 12, 13, 14. Oh,
look who it is!
Hey, Cody, how are you?
It's Mr. Dermit. How you doing, man? Oh, look at
you. How are you keeping, Cody?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Say hi to everyone watching.
Hi, everybody. How are you all doing? Good to see you all. I have to come in with her snacks, you see.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I love the suit.
You know, I'm good for something. I'm good for something, Cody. You know.
Hey, while we're at it, these two just completed their second show over on PROG Radio every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern, 5 p.m. in Ireland, and 9 a.m. on the Pacific. You can hear Generations of Prog featuring Dermit and Tara O'Reilly on PROG Radio. So check it out.
Cheers, Cody. Thanks for the shout out. Look after yourself, mate. All right.
All right, my friend.
Bye-bye.
That was quite the guest appearance from the wonderful Dermot O'Reilly.
Yes, of course.
I don't even remember. Where were we? Okay, so you were
talking about the metal, right? So I got into the metal and stuff.
I want some snacks now. Where's Dermot with my snacks?
Pop them in the post there. But yeah, I was very young when I got into the metal and stuff. So I would have started off as a kid into all the lovely prog, yes, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Then I would have kind of gone down into the dark metal grunge. And then I would kind of discover prog metal, so Opeth and Dream Theater and Porcupine Tree and all, and it would kind of come back up then into the prog, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I found refuge in music, and this is where my attachment to lyrics came in. Because when I was a teenager, I didn't understand my feelings. I didn't know how to put them into words or anything. And that's why I got into the likes of Marillion or Opeth. You know, people that are Van der Graaf Generator, of course. People that would kind of sing and really articulate these feelings. And it was just, oh my God, it was a savior, honestly, being able to actually say what was going on in my head, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. I like lyrics too. Obviously, everybody should like lyrics, especially if they listen to music. But yeah, I feel that honestly. Like that's well said. Well said. For me, when I was going through my hard time, the music gave me something to involve myself in. It gave me something. It gave me an escape from. Like I had the benefit, and I know that not everyone can say this, unfortunately. I had the benefit of always having a good family. It was everything else that was kind of BS. At the time, like, you know, friends and just going through high school and realizing about certain people and, you know, thinking certain people were your friends and they turn out to be, you know, backjabbers, right? And just stuff like that. And to top it off, my mom was really sick at the time in the hospital when I was in mid-teens there, and so it was just really hard. It was really, really stressful. I was realizing about my anxieties, and before we get into all of that stuff, because that's a topic that's a heavy topic, right?
Yeah.
But the music definitely helped me through all of that. It gave me an escape. It gave me an out. It gave me a friend to sit back and chill with. It gave me something to challenge my own self with as a drummer. it
Yeah.
gave me, and prog, this is when I started to really gravitate towards Genesis and stuff, because I could listen to Genesis no matter what era. I could sit and work out the drum parts to some of it. I mean, gosh, I remember sitting there for hours just listening to the Foxtrot record, like Can Utility and the Coastliners, and just picking apart every little nuance that Phil Collins did on that. Every time I go see Steve Hackett and he plays any of the Genesis songs, I'm always paying attention to the drummer to see if they get all of the subtleties. Because, like, if things are like a little bit out, I can tell. But
Yeah.
if things are a little bit out, that's also a good thing, because that means it's live, right? But yeah, so Genesis, I had a program, because I played electronic drums at the time. I had a program called Addictive Drums, and I would model a different, like, you could create your own drum sounds in it. So I had different Phil Collins era drum sounds. I had drum sounds for the 1973 period, like Selling England by the Pound. I had drum sounds for 1986, like Invisible Touch, with all those, I like those sounds and things that he has, like that period of Genesis, right?
Yeah.
And so I had it. I remember having those two. I probably had more, but those, like, I remember having like specific, distinct Genesis drum sounds programmed by myself in the computer.
Yeah.
And so it's just, that's where I was at, in this period. And of course, things got a lot better. Mom got better, thank God. And I just realized, with all the BS in high school and stuff at the time, things get so much better in your 20s, man. They do.
Oh, stop. Yeah. High school, they're the best days of your life. No way. Absolutely not.
Not a snowball's chance in hell, bro.
No.
Oh, man, not a snowball's chance in hell. I could add a couple extra words in there, but no. The discussion of music, and we kind of came into this thinking from a 90s perspective, but I think we're just going all over the board, because
I mean, look, realistically, our journey with music is all over the place. So we're just going to be honest, like.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think this is just going to be like our musical journey.
Yeah.
The musical journey of Cody and Tara. That's perfect. That's what a great name. Maybe that's what we should call it.
That'd be a great television show, actually.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. That's what we'll have to start naming the radio shows that, and whenever we decide to do one remote together, right? But I remember being a kid, and the first bands I got into was Yes, Led Zeppelin, and the Beatles. I didn't know the term prog rock until I got into my teens. I just knew that I liked some of that stuff. Like, Dad would play Frank Zappa and Gentle Giant and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool music, whatever that Dad listens to. That's, classic rock, whatever. We hear Yes on the radios here, right? So back then you could turn on Q107 in Toronto, and they had what was called Psychedelic Sundays, which just basically meant they got to play deep cuts and prog rock and stuff that they don't typically play throughout the week. So they would play stuff like Perpetual Change, and they do album sides, like they did Pink Floyd, just things like that. So for years, it was just classic rock to me. Yes, it was classic rock. Yeah. It was classic rock. Metallica's metal, whatever. But Yes, and those bands, Yes, and the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, they got played on my classic rock station. So I loved that music. It was classic rock. Then I found out, more about it, and prog rock this, and progressive rock, progressive metal that, right?
Yeah.
So I would play anything classic rock. My friends hated. Like, going back to when I was a kid, I'd throw in, it didn't have, like, whether it was the Beatles or Pink Floyd, or the Beatles was huge for me. Like, gosh. So whether it was like the Beatles or Prince or Pink Floyd or whatever, my friends had little to no time for it. And I used to use some derogatory terms that I will not repeat on air, but they used to use some derogatory terms in towards my music taste. And still to this day, I'm still open to all sorts of music. So there was a time when I was a kid and I got into metal. Like, my dad showed me Korn, and that was it for like years. It was like Korn, Marilyn Manson, System of a Down. That was where it was at. a little kid walking around, you'd think maybe he's listening to, I don't know, whatever was popular at the time. No, I had Korn's Issues album in there.
Oh yeah.
In the Discman, and Falling Away From Me and all those tracks. I knew every word. The Right Now video scared the absolute daylights out of me for years as a kid. That thing gave me nightmares. It gave me daymares. Like, I was scared. Like, I was so scared. I was still scared when I woke up the next day after seeing that video. The guy totally mutilated. For those that don't know this video, maybe you should watch it. I don't know, but it's this animated guy. It's 4.5 minutes, and all he does is mutilate himself. Just like at the end of the video, he ties a little a rope around one of his teeth, and he ties the other end to the door, and he slams the door, and then his whole head comes out.
Yeah.
Did you see that video, Tara?
Yeah. Brutal.
MTV actually played that briefly for a time when it came out before they realized, oh, no, get that the hell out of here.
Whoops. Someone got fired.
Yeah, that slipped under the radar, right? But the video had nothing to do with the song. Nothing. But Korn was my favorite band for years. Like, I used to have, 7 years old, and I would daydream about being their drummer. And I love Korn to this day, and they were my favorite band for so long. System of a Down. I kind of think that's prog metal because
I would agree with you. Yeah.
I mean, System of a Down, they'll go from disco to thrash metal in the same second in a song.
Yeah.
And there's nobody else. The only people that don't like them just don't understand them. That's it. Because they have something for everyone, and they can just go wherever with their music. And that's what they always did. They went so many places that eventually they had to stop because they couldn't, make music together anymore because, I don't know, egos and whatever. But 19 years since Hypnotize came out. Note to System of a Down, Serge and Darren and all those dudes, make a record, okay?
Please.
Then Rock Band. I don't know, was that a big thing over there? Rock Band, Guitar Hero?
Yeah,
huge here. I had stepbrothers at the time who showed me Guitar Hero 2 and then Rock Band and then Metallica, Guitar Hero, whatever. And so those games consumed me for a long time. 9 years old, playing expert level on the guitar. What about you? What's your history with those games? Because they got a lot of this generation into a lot of good music.
Yeah, my experience would have been more with the Tony Hawk games and Grand Theft Auto games, which I shouldn't have been playing, but
I was
and
too.
when you grew up with a parent into prog, it was very hard to hear that music anywhere mainstream. And I remember playing Grand Theft Auto one day, and Owner of a Lonely Heart was on it, and I was going, oh my god, that's one of my dad's songs. Oh my god, like, I never hear this anywhere else, and other people my age are going to hear it. Oh my god, this is such a big deal. Like,
that song is huge here.
Yeah, you see, it wouldn't have been like that here. It's completely different here. Completely different. And
I love that record.
I'll get back into the metal stuff. It was very hard, I find, with our age group to listen to anything mainstream because a lot of it wasn't played by musicians or anything. And when you're used to a certain genre of music like prog, you're used to a very high level of musicianship.
Yeah.
You're used to them putting in a lot of work and a lot of feeling into the music. And what was being played on the radio here anyway, when I was 10 to, let's say, 17 years old, was just crap. Like, it was computers, and it was just singing about, like, oh, I've had my heart broken, or oh, I'd love a ride later. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just all about stuff like that, unfortunately.
Genitals. There's lots of talk about women's genitals in music.
Yeah, and it was like, oh my God, when am I going to hear something that's real, like real music? And that's why I gravitated towards grunge and metal and stuff, because there was other people around me listening to it, so I'd be able to talk to them about it. And it was good music. It was good. Like, you know, I know a lot of people into prog might say, oh, I can't listen to metal, it's too much for me, or I don't like grunge, it's too miserable or whatever. But like, we had nothing else at the time, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember playing Rock Band and hearing Soundgarden and Nirvana and Alice in Chains and all those bands that I still love to this day. And that was where I first heard them, was on those video games. And obviously every kid, every boy around the age of 14 to 16, especially in my generation here, probably heard Nevermind by Nirvana. Like,
Yeah.
if they played any instrument at all, like a lot of my friends liked Nirvana. And not just I got the t-shirt, I like the logo, I like the design. Like, what the hell is that, man? I mean, hey, that's cool. That's cool if you just like a Metallica shirt just because you like the skull or something. But don't be surprised when someone is going to come up and say, you know, what about Dyer's Eve? You know, like, what about the new album, 72 Seasons or something? I just like the shirt. Okay, all right, whatever. I don't have time for that. But Rock Band got us into a lot of songs and a lot of music. I mean, like, there's new stuff at the time. Like, Wolf Mother had a song called Woman that was in Guitar Hero 2. I remember learning about Tom Morello in Guitar Hero 3, Legends of Rock, Rage Against the Machine. I wasn't a big Rage fan then. I certainly am now. Once I hit my 20s and COVID happened and all this stuff, it's like, yeah, you know, F you, I won't do what you tell me, that whatever. But I'm not as, I obviously like lyrics just as much as probably anyone, but you are very much a lyric person, and that's cool. Obviously I am too, but to a degree. It's more about the music and the sound and the vibe and the feel and the rhythm and all that stuff. And so, even, I'm not a political guy, but I do like Rage Against the Machine now because I like their sound. I love the drummer, Tim Comerford. No, is it the bass player? But Tom Morello's guitar playing. Brad Wilk is the drummer for Rage Against the Machine. Yes. And Tom Morello's guitar playing, there's nobody that sounds like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just, he made it sound like a turntable with, like, on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't play conventional solos in any song. It, like, don't come in here expecting Paul Gilbert or Eddie Van Halen or one of these guys. I mean, not that they play traditional guitar solos, but that sounds like a guitar. Tom Morello sounds like a something else, you know. And that is the sign of a good musician. Whether you like their political stance or not, I'm apolitical, so it's whatever. But I like their music. I like their sound. I like their vibe, their everything. And people, how do you like Rage Against the Machine and not be a political guy? Well, it's simple. I like Tom Morello. And I also like Audioslave with Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What do you think about those bands?
Well, you can't be Irish and not be political, because we're still suffering from wicked oppression. Like, the UK still occupies 6 counties in Ireland, like, you know, and you don't really have a choice in the matter. So when I heard Rage Against the Machine, I was like, God, this is powerful, like, and this is really good. Fair play to them for coming out and doing that, because a lot of artists try and avoid that kind of thing. And I feel that if you are an artist, it's nearly part of your job to be an advocate, because you have so much influence on people. And if you can use that to do the right thing, then do it, you know?
You know what? And that brings us to a great point of conversation here, because some people bag on Taylor Swift for that reason. But I don't know if you remember this. She came out about 7-8 years ago, whenever I think it was when Trump was coming into office. And whether she was a Trump supporter or not, that was irrelevant. I don't think she was, but she didn't urge her fans to do one thing or the other, but she urged people to vote.
Yeah.
And the voting system went up really high that year in the States because of Taylor Swift. So, like, there's certain artists, like you're saying, who have a point of power and can help actually change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're in a very, very important position. And they're lucky to have gotten there in the first place. And, you know, a lot of them have serious talent, and it's great that they're being recognized for it, but use it for the right thing. I mean, Serge Tankian of System of a Down is a massive advocate. The work he does is fantastic. And, you know, I feel like a lot of these metal bands really took that on board. And that was just added to the greatness of these people, like, you know, and things like that are very inspiring.
Well, yeah, especially, I mean, it helps, like, if it's a bad cause, then it's like, then that's kind of like worrisome. But if it's like a good cause that the person is standing up for and is so strongly about, then that's a very good thing.
Yeah.
And if you can kind of wake people up to a good cause and make them sort of see the light for a good cause, that's very helpful. Yeah. And a lot of these bands can do that through their lyrics. So even if it's just about, you know, there's certain Tool songs and stuff about searching inside of yourself, and Dream Theater had the same thing. Yeah. That's not political at all. It's spiritual. That's what I am. I'm spiritual. I don't get into conversation about politics typically. I'm just a spiritual guy, and you know, it's within me. You know, it's within you. It's within everyone. Mm-hmm. And that's the message that some of these bands, you know, when they're not taking a political stance, like something like Roger Waters or something would do, like bands like Dream Theater let us know that the spirit carries on. You know, it's within all of us. Yeah, you gotta find it, but it's there. And yeah. And so that's some of the lyrics that I take to. I heard the lyrics in Spirit Carries On and just went, oh man, I think I just heard the greatest song ever. Like, oh, the lyrics just so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this is a lot of fun getting to talk to you. You know that you're really cool. Yeah, so we kind of jump ship. I mean, that's just kind of what happens when two music lovers get discussing things. But we were sort of talking about our time as children and growing up with music. Mm. So around the time I was 11 years old, I took a pretty staunch left turn because I had this friend, and every time I'd go over to her house, we would listen. She would play Eminem. He had the Relapse album out at the time. And I tell you not, that's like, I kid you not, there's a real honesty to his music. And like he speaks from the heart. I mean, obviously he's got his joke songs where he talks about, you know, doing his mom, I don't know, whatever, like, but he's also got real legit stuff too, where it's like about his daughters, about his ex-wife, about his growing up and this and that. And so my parents hated his music just because I guess at the time maybe they didn't understand. They get it now. They like him now, but my parents hated his music, but I still listened to it. But they were like, oh, they didn't like it. They didn't like it until I got older, and I played some of it around them and go, this is real stuff. He's a really good lyricist. And I say, like, Marshall Mathers LP, the first one, is probably the best metal album that rap ever made. Because there's real stuff. It is all real. There's a lot of anger. Okay, that's a very angry record in many spots. Of course, he adds his bits of, you know, very dark humor and things and that and whatever in there. But lyrically, there's a lot of darkness to it, but it's really well executed. And it's, you know, so many of his records can take you into the mind of him and what he was going through in his life, like when he was getting clean on Relapse and on the Relapse record and the song Deja Vu, you know, talking about him getting taken away by the ambulance people. And it's like, it's real stuff that he was talking about. And so I went full hip hop for a long time, probably about 4 years. I got into some, you know, obviously I still love Eminem to this day. There's good hip hop and then there's shit hop. Okay. And unfortunately I did get into some shit hop. A lot of my friends were into some hip hop. And but I look back at some of that stuff now and just laugh at it and go, I can't believe I'm so glad that I'm far removed from some of that stuff. But the good stuff stays. It's like anytime you get into a genre, you probably hear some of the bad stuff and go, whatever. But over time, the good stuff stays with you, right? That's how it goes. And there's so much good music out there. I mean, so I'm still into Eminem to this day. In fact, he's got a new record coming out in 2 days, and I'm pretty pumped for that. I think it was May 31st, they said. The Death of Slim Shady comes out. So I'm super excited to hear that. But after I sort of got away from hip hop, just overall, even though I still like NWA and Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, whatever, Eminem, went full on to the classic rock, Elton John, Beatles again, whatever, and prog. I went heavy into prog, and then I went heavy into metal. Come around like my late teens, early 20s, got into, I had always known Metallica, right? I had been super into Metallica for however many years, but in my 20s is when I became like a diehard Metallica fan. And same with Megadeth. Got back into the metal, and then went the Iron Maiden, this and that. Then got Opeth and Tool, and then from Tool went to Dream Theater, and now back like heavy prog again.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's crazy. It's nuts. Like Jesus, I was listening to some dark stuff in my teens. I started listening to Stephen Wilson when I was 14. And Grace for Drowning and The Raven That Refused to Sing were on repeat. Like Dream Theater I was listening to very young as well. I never really got into what?
I'm sorry to jump in on you, but they are they have a lot of lighter stuff too, like Wither and I Walk Beside You and stuff like that. So
none of that made its way into my life. Like, it was all the really dark
Dark Eternal Night.
Yeah, like, I was Solitary Shell. I remember listening to that. Oh, this is a lovely song. La, la, la. Heard the lyrics and I was like, oh my God, is this about me?
I saw them play that live.
It was always prog and metal music and grunge music for me. Hip hop and pop and all that stuff never really made it into my life. Classic rock and all that was always there as well.
Oh yeah, classic rock was always there. Even in my heaviest of hip hop, I would still have times where I'd go back and listen to my Led Zeppelin and all that. So it was never fully out of the picture.
Yeah, like the day I turned 18, I ran to the tattoo shop and got a Led Zeppelin tattoo, like straight away. But I just, as I've gotten older, I feel like this kind of sophistication has found its way into my life, and I've really, really been getting into some heavy prog, like Emerson, Lake and Palmer are very sophisticated. They might sound crazy or whatever, but they are incredible musicians, and you couldn't show them to some normal person on the street and be like, what do you think of this? Because they'd be like, what in the name of God are you doing?
Actually, Lucky Man is a huge hit.
Yeah. But over here, if you showed that to someone, they'd say, I've never heard of it. But yeah.
Well, same, yeah.
So, it's all come together now in my life, and I will listen to everything. If I had a playlist now of what I'm listening to today, it could be Yes, Deftones, Opeth.
Yeah.
Tool. You know what I mean? It's all come together, and it was a mad journey to get here.
Oh yeah, I knew I liked you. My playlists are wild like that too. I will go from Black Sabbath to Eminem to Genesis to the Scorpions to, I don't know, Miles Davis and McCoy Tyner or something like that.
Yeah.
John Coltrane, I don't know. There's something like just, I like all sorts of music. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, as long as it's good music.
Yeah.
And it's great how important musicianship is to people like us at our age. Because I feel like that was starting to get lost for a while. And, in the younger generation now, it is still kind of getting lost. But we're out there.
We're out there, and I have a good number of friends in the younger generation like us who are into good music. Some of them play instruments, some of them don't, but they are into good stuff. Like my buddy Carson is a huge fan of the Grateful Dead. He doesn't play any instruments, but he loves Camel. Someone showed him Mood Madness, and then he's like, "Yeah, this is great." And then I heard it because of him.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I only surround myself now with people who show me people who show me music, whether I like it or not. The fact that you take the time to show it to me means that it means a lot to you, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have to love all the same music. I have other friends who, I'll make them like they're the anti-prog, but they still love music. I mean, even if you don't love prog necessarily, you can still love music. There's tons of people who love music who don't really dig much prog beyond what's probably popular.
Yeah, yeah.
But I venture to say that anything that's good is prog, because everything has to progress. Otherwise, it just is not good. Like, I think Metallica is prog, and I know people are going, oh, "What?" I think that Metallica and those bands have strived to constantly do good and to constantly do something that's very good, and they pushed, like, especially Metallica and Megadeth and stuff. They push the boundaries to see how good they can make it, and some people don't like that. Some people don't like, Saint Anger, the drum sound, whatever, Load, Reload. I think Load and Reload are awesome. They're so different than everything that came before, and they're so different than everything that came after. They really stand out in the catalog because of how different they are. And no, I'm not saying it's like prog album with mellotrons and whatever, but it progresses, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
they have stuff, and they have songs and albums that really push the listener into different directions. And, like, they have songs like Orion and Call of Cthulhu and Suicide and Redemption and stuff that it's 10-minute instrumental tracks. They were one of the first metal bands to do a full-on album with an orchestra.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying they're a prog band or anything like with the likes of Genesis and Yes, but they're Metallica. They're a great metal band, and I do think that they pushed a lot of boundaries. And for you to be a good band that continues to try to push your audience, that's a great progression to me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, where do we go from there?
I mean, yeah. Really done it now, Cody.
And before people come on and start complaining, Metallica's not a prog band, Megadeth's not a prog band, Deep Purple's not a prog band. Actually, we got to talk about this for a second.
Deep Purple are prog.
I think they're a prog metal hard rock jam band.
Yeah, Deep Purple paved the way for so many. Like,
absolutely, I love Deep Purple. I just did a video for those who don't know with Tom Curlis over on Curlis Mania, where we talked about the Burn and Stormbringer records. We put them head to head, and we had a fun look at which one would win in our little album battle. So go watch that. I'm not going to tell you which one won. You probably know it already anyway. But yeah. So welcome to our first installment of What is Prog?
Yeah. No way we are not on there.
Yeah, no, that would be too long. That would be too. I mean, we're just nearing 44 minutes now.
We've gone on long enough, haven't we?
Yeah, I guess we have. I mean, the point is that with our journey into music, we are boundaryless. It doesn't, like you and me. It doesn't matter what style. It shouldn't matter what style of music it is. It's just about what hits us and what makes us feel something, and what makes our wheels turn.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't care if it's Phil Collins, or I don't care if it's Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or Eminem, or Iron Maiden, or whatever. On different days, anything can suit me. And I know that Tara feels very similar.
Yeah. I mean, look behind me here, Mastodon, Mars Volta, for Christ's sake, like.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So so this has been our journey into music and where we are, and the fact is now we're still journeying into music because you and I are still finding out new bands.
Yeah.
one of the things I love about being a DJ on Prog Radio and on Deep Nuggets Radio, every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, you can catch me on Prog Radio. Every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, you can catch me on Deep Nuggets Radio. But being part of those two teams, and you can attest to this, it constantly means that you're listening to the station and doing other shows and just whatever, right? And you're listening to those stations and going, I've never heard this before. I really like this.
Yeah.
And then meeting people from other parts of the world and getting to know them, and even having bands that I didn't know I'd ever become a Marillion fan in any degree. And then I meet you and my friend Lorne. You see him every Saturday here, typically on Brockway's Vinyl Bites. Scott Lade from the Prog Corner, meeting all you guys and going, wow, there's so much other music. Like I like Marillion now. Yeah. Much thanks to you guys and the influence of you guys going, well, check this out. And like Lauren, him having his own show on Deep Nuggets Radio and him playing Easter, saying, this will make you're going to like this.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I did, And I understand that that's a huge hit over there. We never hear that here.
Yeah, Easter and Kaylee are huge here.
If you turn on FM radio here and you hear Marillion, that's a cold day in Mexico. But you do hear them on, if you turn on like the Stingray classic rock station on the TV, they will play stuff like Kaylee or probably Garden Party or something like that. So another thing we have is Sirius XM, which is very helpful in playing deep cuts and classic vinyl. Like you'll turn on. I remember I went out to breakfast once a while ago, and they had the classic vinyl station, and they were playing everything like Moody Blues. I think it was Ride My Seesaw, and then Pink Floyd's Time. They will play like that classic vinyl on Sirius XM. Just plays everything that was like a big cut from like 65 to 75.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Is there any other things that you want to mention about you getting into music? I know Nickelback and Avril Lavigne were big bands for me too growing up. I know some people don't love Nickelback, don't care, love them. They were my first concert, so that was influential. AC/DC the same.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think I've kind of touched on everything without getting into personal life too much. Yeah, we could do that sometime. Oh, no, Jesus Christ, we'd need a psychiatrist on the stream with us.
Well, friends, thank you so much for watching today's video. Tara's going to be back sometime soon. I know, because I'm going to see to it that she comes back, because y'all love her. I love her. Everyone loves Tara and Dermit. Hopefully Dermit will feature sometime. But like, subscribe, check out Brockway's Vinyl Bites if you haven't already, and check out SPINNIN Prog. Of course, subscribe to them because they're just great. And we'll see you next time right here on Brockway's Vinyl Bites, folks. All right, rock on!
For fuck's sake.
Oh, Jesus, we just started. Okay, we can edit that out. We'll just throw this in at the end as a blooper.
Sorry, guys.
All right.